Commander Zethkar of the Altarian Defense Fleet stared at the holographic display with 3 of his 4 eyes, the 4th permanently sealed from a plasma burn sustained in the first wave of attacks. The red dots representing Vorthak invasion ships outnumbered the blue coalition forces 3-1, and those odds had been deteriorating by the hour for the past 6 months. Sir, his communications officer, a delicate crystalline named Silara, chimed with the musical tones of her species. Admiral Corvin is requesting all fleet commanders join the emergency council session. Zethkar's mandibles clicked in resignation. He knew what this meant. After 800 years of peace, the Galactic Coalition was about to surrender to the Vorthak Empire. The spider-like conquerors had swept through 17 star systems in half a standard year, their biomechanical ships adapting to every weapon the Coalition threw at them. The holographic council chamber materialized around him, filled with the dejected forms of military leaders from across the galaxy. Admiral Corvin, the ancient ethereal whose translucent form had grown even more transparent with stress, floated at the center. Fellow beings, Corvin's telepathic voice echoed in their minds. Our situation has become untenable. The Vorthak have broken through our defensive lines at Proxima 7. They're now only 2 jumps away from the core worlds. A collective sigh rippled through the chamber or the various species, equivalents of size. The burly Drakmari growled low in their throats, while the insectoid hive mind's antennae drooped in unison. However, Corvin continued, before we discuss surrender terms, I've received an unusual transmission. It appears to be from a species calling themselves humans. Zethkar had never heard of them. From the confused murmurs around the chamber, neither had anyone else. They claimed to be from a system called Sol, apparently located in the Orion Arm, a region we classified as uninhabitable due to the primitive nature of its dominant species. Impossible, rumbled General Thokran of the Stone Dwellers. Our scouts surveyed that sector 500 years ago. Nothing there but primitive mammals who had barely discovered fire. A new voice cut through the chamber's audio system, not telepathic like the ethereals, not musical like the crystallines, but something rough and organic. That was 500 years ago, General. The hologram flickered and suddenly a bipedal creature appeared in their midst. It stood on 2 legs, had 2 arms, and a single head with forward-facing eyes, a predator's configuration. What struck Zethkar most was how utterly unremarkable it looked compared to the diverse species of the Coalition. I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran Expeditionary Force, the creature, the human announced. We've been monitoring your communications and we understand you're having some trouble with the Vorthak. Admiral Corvin's form brightened slightly with curiosity. How could your species possibly assist? Our sensors show no major industrial presence in your system. The human smiled, revealing white teeth in what Zethkar realized was likely a predatory display, yet somehow it seemed reassuring. Admiral, you've been fighting the Vorthak the wrong way. You've been trying to outmatch their adaptability with better technology, but adaptation is a double-edged sword. Explain, Corvin commanded. Captain Chen gestured, and their own holographic display activated, showing detailed schematics of Vorthak bioships. Your species have been at peace for 8 centuries. You've forgotten something fundamental about survival. Sometimes you don't win by being better. You win by being unpredictable. The display shifted to show human vessels. Sleek, angular ships that looked almost primitive compared to Coalition technology. But there was something about them that made Zethkar's warrior instincts prickle with recognition. The Vorthak adapt to patterns, Chen continued. But humans don't fight with patterns. We improvise. We use what your species would call illogical tactics. And most importantly, we never, ever give up. General Thokran's granite-like features creaked into what might have been a frown. What are you proposing? A joint operation. Your technology, our strategies. The Vorthak have adapted to fight civilized warfare. Let's show them what uncivilized looks like. 3 hours later, Zethkar found himself in direct command of a mixed fleet unlike anything he'd ever seen. Sleek human destroyers flanked his massive Altarian dreadnought, while smaller vessels, apparently called fighters by the humans, swarmed around them like angry insects. The human communication frequencies buzzed with chatter full of terms he didn't understand. Fox 2, break left. I'm on your 6. It sounded like chaos, but somehow it worked like a perfectly choreographed dance. As they approached the Vorthak fleet near Proxima 7, Captain Chen's voice crackled over the comm. Remember, Coalition forces. The moment they start adapting to one pattern, we switch to another. Think like prey becoming predator. The Vorthak ships detected them first, their biomechanical hulls already beginning to shift and adapt to the expected Coalition attack patterns. But instead of the organized, predictable assault they anticipated, what followed was what the humans called controlled chaos. Human fighters dove at impossible angles, using maneuvers that defied tactical logic. Coalition ships suddenly broke formation, each attacking with different weapon frequencies and patterns. The Vorthak ships tried to adapt, but every time they began to counter one strategy, the humans switched to another. Sethkar watched in amazement as a human vessel, damaged and apparently retreating, suddenly reversed course and rammed itself directly into a Vorthak command ship, both vessels exploding in a brilliant flash. Did that human just sacrifice itself intentionally, he asked. Chen's voice came back steady despite the chaos around them. Lieutenant Morrison knew he couldn't make it back, so he made his loss count. That's what we do, we turn every defeat into a small victory. The battle raged for 6 hours. By the end, the Vorthak fleet was in full retreat, their adaptive systems overwhelmed by the sheer unpredictability of human tactics combined with Coalition firepower. Later, as they surveyed the aftermath, Admiral Corvin approached Zethkar's ship. The ethereal's form was brighter than it had been in months. "Captain Chen," Corvin transmitted, "your species has given us something we had forgotten in our centuries of peace." "What's that, Admiral?" "Hope. And perhaps more importantly, you've reminded us that sometimes the most civilized thing to do is to be a little uncivilized." Zethkar clicked his mandibles in what humans might recognize as laughter. The galaxy had underestimated a species of bipedal mammals from an unremarkable system in the Orion Arm. The Galactic Coalition had been ready to surrender. But the humans had arrived just in time to remind them all of a simple truth. The fight isn't over until the last warrior decides to stop fighting. And humans, it seemed, never stopped fighting.